Okay, welcome back to another video. For those of you that watched my last video, I talked about passing California emissions in a 2007 GT500. And one of the things I mentioned was it passed. I had to return the tune back to stock for whatever reason because they did a computer scan and it was throwing a code. But anyway, if you want to watch that video, it's my last video. But then I also mentioned, I had a open air element intake, a PMAS. And I said, even though that's carb legal, I said, well, I'm going to put the stock box back on because the stock box is a better design because it's a closed system and you suck in colder air. And the stock box on these 07 through 09 models, it's actually pretty good. It's kind of straight. It's a straight design, not too many bends and things like that. But once I drove it with the stock box, then I went for a drive with the stock box and zero supercharger whine. I mean, hardly no supercharger whine. And I was like, what the heck? I even floored it a couple times, got the RPMs up, and I didn't realize there was like a tiny bit of whine. I didn't realize the stock box, closed box, took away that much sound. And even with like some people in the forums complained about it when I looked at the forums, and people were like, well, just put a smaller supercharger pulley on and all that. And I already have the smaller pulley. I have a larger throttle body, a larger supercharger elbow, and still, I mean, zero whine. And I was like, I can't live like this. I just can't do it no more. Because part of the whole experience of having a muscle car, for those of you enthusiasts, is I know some folks, they buy a car, they just like to know the supercharger's there, I don't want to hear it. But most of my friends, including myself, part of the whole experience is the sounds, You got the rumbly exhaust, from factory they sell them so quiet now, you gotta buy an exhaust. And if you have a supercharger, you want to hear it. And it just combines the whine and the exhaust. It adds to the driving experience, etc., etc. So, I threw the PMAS back on. And it also looks pretty. PMAS, I didn't mean to kind of knock it so much. See, now I'm rolling back. I'm not afraid to admit I made a mistake. Shout out to PMAS. They do make awesome intakes. And the fitment, I did say the fitment was shitty, but I might have been too harsh. I mean, here it is, very, very pretty intake. The fitment, I was talking about, like around the throttle body here, it's a little bit of a challenge to get it around the throttle body. There's a carb sticker. You asking for that if you live in California, carb exempt, and there it is. It looks nice. Now, to be honest, PMAS is the only cold air intake I've ever used before on my Mustangs. I mean, my very first Mustang 5.0 Coyote, it was a 2012 GT. I put a PMAS on that because they just they were always the highest flowing. My 2015 S550 PMAS made an awesome one for that, where the intake. I think I have a video on that if you want to look at that. It's an old one. But the intake elbow was so large, they give you a bracket, and you have to relocate your coolant tank over to the left. And it just sucked in so much air, and it sounded great. So PMAS does make good systems. It's just on this particular one, whoops, it's a little bit tough fit around here. Now, that might be normal. Maybe JLT's the same way. Maybe it's a little bit of a challenge. I had to use some, I put a little bit of brake, kind of brake grease jelly. I have these little things when I last did my brakes where caliper grease. I kind of lined the inside of this with a little bit of that lubricant, just right here, the part that goes, I lined the inside of the PMAS so that it would slide on better, and it slid on better. And, this is an aftermarket sound tube, which you can't really do on these because the firewall's closed. I tried the drill. Anyway, PMAS. Now, we're talking about, here's the stock intake. It sucks cold air in. to a closed box. But the issue I have with this is right here. This oval, it's like a narrow oval opening, as you can see. And then it goes through here, which is a little bit larger, but the initial point is just this narrow oval opening. So that's part of it. As far as performance, so I'm thinking there's no way this can perform better than, look at the size of this opening. It's a big round opening. So it's just gone boom straight through, and it narrows a tiny bit because it has to, but I mean you're getting in way more air with this. That's why PMAS gives its own sensor. This one's no tune required, but I still have a tune on this because everything works better with a tune. So yeah, but you can see, look at how thin that opening is. It's just like, okay. And I had a spare one of these for the cold air, so I stuck it on there just to help guide the air, because that's where the stock one goes. So anyway, when I'm at my next Cars and Coffee, oh, and don't forget this, I highly recommend these aftermarket throttle bodies and elbows. I don't know how much they help, but it's a larger throttle body, and so if you're getting more air in, you know, it just kind of helps to have this stuff larger too, just to keep it going. And stock blower, smaller pulley. Sorry, I just love this car. I don't know. I'm a fanboy of these Mustangs. So there you have it. I put the PMAS back on, and I'll probably attach a drive to this video. Well, you guys already know, I did a video called GT500 Drive. It's an older video, but if you watch that video, is this recording? Sorry, I was having some technical issues with the GoPro. Anyway, if you watch my GT500 Drive video, all that supercharger whine, I got the PMAS on. So just imagine that same video with hardly any supercharger noise. It's just kind of like, totally takes away from the experience. And that movie, I Am Legend, at the very beginning, it's an old Will Smith movie, probably from 06. They have this car in it, except it's red, and you can hear the supercharger whine. It's a very opening scene where he's dee dee. So I know they must have an aftermarket filter box on that too. I did read about that car. They said, yeah, it wasn't totally stock, but yeah. So I'm going back to the PMAS. So, which, there you go. Because it's carb legal. And it sucks in more air, and it sounds better. So, it's a sacrifice you're going to have to make. You know, do you want cold air with this? You're getting cold air, which is great, but then all of a sudden you're not getting a lot of it. So it's like a sacrifice. So I'm going to get some hot air. Yes, because look, it's open, it's not covered. You're going to get some engine heat, but I guess that's all you can do is, you know, with this. So I'd rather suck in a little bit of hot air and get the whine than not. So there's other carb legal ones for this. A friend of mine has a K&N one. So if you live in California or someplace that's kind of nuts and expensive, all right, I love California, sorry. but yeah, K&N makes a street legal one that's open. PMAS makes one, so they're both decent, I'm sure. So, but yeah, just make sure if you live in one of them liberal states, you get one with a CARB number on it. I think CARB's just California Air Resource Board, but I think other liberal states are starting to make it more difficult, pushing their electric car agenda maybe. But yeah, so I put the PMAS on. I might do another driving video just since it's due for an update, because it sounds nicer, of course. And I'm looking at the opening, I was like, yeah, it's got to make more power too. So I'll sacrifice sucking in some hot engine air. to getting that supercharger wine. So yep, yeah, you live and learn. I'm not too prideful to admit when I made a mistake, and yeah, I think I made a mistake putting that stock box on, thinking that it's gonna be more enjoyable when it's like, come on, you can't hear the supercharger. That's all. That's like, for me, that's like most of the driving experience. All right, I'm babbling on, but let me get another picture of this pretty intake next to the ugly one. Here's the stock box. K&N, that's like 100 more horsepower they get at K&N, man. I'm telling you. There's this. And then you got this PMAS, which is, you know, it's like boom. It's like putting a sock in your pants. This thing's like putting a big sock in your pants. There you go. PMAS. So, all right. I'm going to shut this video down and enjoy the rest of your work week.